Joel, I could not agree more. I also could not disagree more, which is why I genuinely believe, I get a bit cheem sometimes, I genuinely believe that the young Lions is the biggest existential problem that the Singapore Premier League has to deal with right now. Welcome back to Yahoo Footballing Weekly Part 2. Now, let's go local, Han Keong. Let's go local. What's happening?
So the Singapore Premier League ended last weekend. So obviously, the results already known that Albirex Niigata were the champions again, 5th time in 7 seasons. But the surprise thing, obviously, the whole season was all of us thought that Lion City Sailors, with their big financial backing, and then they set up a beautiful academy in McPherson.
State of the art,
State of the art, classy. Was like we were bowled over when we went there for the opening. So, and then they screw it up at the end of the right at the end they were leading, and then they went to a 4-match losing streak, and then because Albirex are consistent enough, they are just able to chip away, and then finally overtake them and finally win it with 2 games to go. So obviously there must be an inquest between among the Lion City Sailors. How come they spend so much, got so many good players, and then how come you still didn't win the thing? So the CEO was like giving some wishy-washy political answers, saying, we'll do our own checks, we'll do a lot of reflection, and then we'll see where we go wrong, and we need to go back to basics. But what do you think? I think why couldn't Lion City Sailors cut it this season?
Go back to basics? What basics do they want to go back to? Just spend lots of money on players. The Lion City Sailors is literally a national team. That's I don't know. Is that a project they are going for? But I won't say it's failing. But if you look at that, I think the AFC Champions League, they didn't really do that well in there. No, that was the project that was built for this. This club was built to perform in the Champions League.
They got 2 wins and a draw.
Yeah,
2 wins
and they did not come back to our leagues again. And that too, they failed, and they're being found out though.
Yeah.
They need new players. I think I saw a post whereby 4 of their players are being, I think they are being scouted to play for the Thai league or something.
Oh, okay.
So never know.
Yeah, I think they are a bit like a Real Madrid Galacticos last time. Galacticos,
Yes.
They bought this. I should get this national player, that national player, and then get this former Korean international, and then get one former Champions League who was playing in Champions League. But Maxime Lestienne was pretty good.
I think he's the only best buy.
But Kim Shin-wook was like up and down. He wasn't. Sometimes he'll be good. Sometimes he'll be like a lumbering giant. But the whole team sometimes took a long while for them to gel. And then before that, they went through another coaching change. And then everything fell apart after that coaching change.
I till this day, I don't know why the manager got sacked. Like, it's just uncalled for. Like, an incident happened. Things happened. They fought. Okay, find him. Move on from there.
It was the final straw. I think he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
But I thought that he was going to be the next Singapore's manager. I thought that was.
But that's the interesting point you make there, Han Keong, about the Galacticos. I think that's a good analogy because I think when the coaching changed, they went from this Galacticos culture, a team of individuals, and then they tried to turn into Tottenham overnight, an Antonio Conte team with the new guy who came in, Luka Lalic, who subsequently admitted he trained them too hard. Right. You sometimes get this with an interim coach. I must make them work harder, train harder. How many times do you get a David Moyes or a Solskjaer type of coach come into a new club that's stalling or whatever, and the first thing they do is drill them to death? There's some things I can't do. I can't replace the personnel, but I can make them fast in the beep tests. I can change their diet. So they go a little bit over the top with that. So this season, this Galacticos turned into Tottenham almost overnight, and they ran out. You could literally see their batteries diminish towards the end of the season. What did they get? 4 losses in a row? They were exhausted.
They started with the interim really well. Yeah. Like, they were like thrashing.
So did Tottenham.
It was literally there, and then boom, they just went downhill from there.
Yeah.
They got tired.
So I think if you want to go back to basics, my advice is don't change coaches halfway through. I mean, first season, Lion City Sailors, they also changed the coaches. But that was because the Vidmar, the original Australian coach, was poached, was headhunted.
Yep.
to the Thai league, I think.
Yes, Thai league.
So that maybe something wrong. But this one you shouldn't have sacked Coach Kim
Yeah.
right in the middle of the
Yeah.
season. That disrupted the whole thing, and then everything went downhill after that.
Here is a more contentious point. I think the Lion City Sailors need to have more of a discussion about what they want to be going forward. And what do I mean by that? You cannot employ that kind of secretive Roman Abramovich model anymore. If you want to engage, if you want to connect with the community, at a certain point, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. It doesn't matter how many players you get in. You've got to make a firm and deep and lasting commitment with your community,
Yes.
with your media, and with the football community generally. Now, I went to Japan a few years back. I went to Tokyo to look at the J League, and I went and watched a couple of clubs. And the way they connect, the way they work with the community, the
Spectacular.
people, the media, the interaction, the interviews, it's an open door policy all the time. Now, we've made jokes many times about Lion City Sailors. You can open up the best academy in Southeast Asia, but you've got to make people feel welcome. It's got to feel like an open environment. And I do genuinely believe that Lion City Sailors have invested a lot of money, yes, but at some point they've got to be firmer about what they want to be and how willing they are to connect with the community, the media. They can't be so secretive about everything.
They did mention they want to connect with the McPherson community, but
Have to.
I think
Yeah.
it's not yet their priority. I think they should bring it up a bit more. Get a bit more of the
Just
support.
say that it's
Yeah.
in the pipeline. Right now, they don't really have an identity. They need to find their own identity right now. And they're doing things very secretly, like what Neil just
You
mentioned.
know, they're often reluctant to
very-
talk to the press,
Yes,
and you
they're
and I
very-
know if you
yeah.
want to get a CEO or you want to get, it's got to go through 15 channels,
Yep.
it's got to go this way, they want to know the angles, they want to know this, they want to know that. I get it, yes. You have that same situation, I've done it, you've done it, if you're dealing with Manchester United or FIFA, but Lion City Sailors are not Manchester United or FIFA. Not yet. Maybe one day. And in the meantime, they have got to build from the bottom up. It can't be from the top down. So next season, yes, fix your squad, fix your management, but open up and engage more
Yes,
with
more.
the Singaporean community. And then I think you'll get more of the respect and more of the integration that you want
Yes,
with the community,
correct.
and
Yeah.
everybody wins.
Yep, exactly.
So start talking to us more.
Yep. Come to our show. Come to our show.
Yeah, come to our show, Lion City Sailors. Come to our show. Right, Young Lions. Let's get into that because this is a big one.
All right, we've been always
This
talking
is the big
about-
one.
Yeah, we've been always been talking about young lions being out of their depth right now in the sport. This year they are last again, 8 points from 28 games. Okay, oof.
Conceding 103 goals.
Yes.
Astonishing.
The second from bottom team got about 20 over points if I'm not wrong. That's a big difference from
Huge difference.
It's a chasm.
yeah. And you know, and then finally the mainstream media latches on to our constant complaining. So they finally
called
done
a
the story.
backslap. That's called a backslap. Yeah.
So they finally spoke to them, and then obviously a lot of other teams they are saying, you know, they look really out of their depths. And you know what's that been do for their psychological training or whatever. You know, it's not good for these young players. But the thing is that they also mentioned that, you know, even if you want to change, if let's say young Lions are disbanded, where are the young players going
Where
to
they're
get their
gonna go?
playing time?
Yes.
Number
Yeah.
one. Number two, next year there's going to be SEA Games again. There's going to be Asian Games again, and a large chunk of the players will come from that team
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
So how are they going to train up for those two major tournaments? But the thing is that they are just so far behind the team, and because their personnel gets changed so frequently.
Often, yes.
Ilan Fandi may be good for one, but then next thing you know, Albirex want to sign me. He has to
And
go.
they lost that
Yeah.
young boy, Raihan
Raihan
Stewart.
Stewart
He went to the Thai League.
Thai League
Lion
as
League
well.
as well.
Thai
So
League.
the top players always go middle of the season. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that the young Lions should keep this
No,
as a project?
yeah, we have a huge debate about this all the time.
Yeah.
Whether or not the young lions should be disbanded. I'm always in there. I feel the young lions should be in the league still. I think this team is destined for greatness. Why? Because last season, if you saw the team, we flip out. Despite them losing the games, right? But the way they played, the way they approached the game, the way they played throughout the 90 minutes was substantial, was extraordinary. I've never seen
He's
a
a
young
good guy,
Lions
Philip
team,
Al. I like Philip.
I've never seen a young Lions team or a young boys played this well.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really well. This season, I don't know what is that. They feel so dejected. They feel so lethargic. They're not playing. They probably just I don't know if Nazi has his plans elsewhere or no. They don't really focus much on young lions. But we need this team. You know why? Because if these boys get disbanded to the clubs like let's just say LCS, Balestier, Geylang, Tampines, I highly doubt they will get enough minutes. Yeah, and then they will fall out of love for football. And that's where they start to do other jobs. And we are losing that core of young boys in there. So right now, these young players that's coming out, like those 14, 15, they know eventually we probably can get to tap on young lions, At least we will get to play for the young lions. And then we progress from there. So I'll still want them to be in there.
Joel, I could not agree more. I also could not disagree more, which is why I genuinely believe, I get a bit cheem sometimes, I genuinely believe that the young lions is the biggest existential problem that the Singapore Premier League has to deal with right now. I genuinely believe that, and I'll tell you why. If they cannot fix the young lions, they cannot fix the Singapore Premier League.
Yes,
because what is the Premier League for? What is its ultimate objective? Is it to serve local football? Is it to build grassroots football? If it is, then the young lions must stay. Now, if the young lions disband, which we've been talking about, and there are many, many good reasons why they should,
Yes.
and they are replaced, for example, by DPMM Brunei, then you have to ask that question, what is the
it
league for?
Yes.
Is it to improve local football, or is it a bloody glorified transit lounge for Southeast Asian football clubs?
Yeah.
Because that's what it'll feel like. 6 out of 7 leagues have been won by foreign teams. Is that correct?
Yep.
Tampines, Lion City was the exception. A team that was set up just to serve the SEA Games, just to provide a feeder service to other clubs. If it has to disband, then you have to seriously ask, should we even continue with the Premier League? Of course we will.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of questions we have to ask, because the young lions, if they cannot survive and we have another foreign team in there, we have to ask the question, what's the point?
So one solution to do is to get senior help. Get senior players in to really help them go. Even if they lose, at least help them to bounce back, because people and used
like
to
the
be,
Olympic model, you have several overage players.
Yeah, overage players. You used to have young lions. Used to have Khairul Amri was played a few years ago, but I understand some players don't want to go back to young lions because they know that they're sure going to be bottom place. The whole season is going to be a drag. But I mean, if senior players want to go back, I think FAS should pay them well to get them to get them one season back, just to mentor, like let's say you need a mentor for these young players, and so I think that might be a solution. But we really need the to lift up the standards, because all the other teams, Tampines, Lion City Sailors, Albirex,
That's the difference, which we talked about before. So Joel's point, what's changed? The league has changed.
Yep.
The gap has got wider. Lion City Sailors have put more money in. Albirex has put more money in. So the gap has got wider. And they were set up to provide a conveyor belt into the SEA Games. They haven't reached the semi-finals in the last 4 SEA Games.
Yes.
So on any measurable objective, they're failing.
Yep.
As much as I want them to continue, they are failing. So something seriously has to happen. Disband, we've talked about it, but if we do disband, then you have to ask the question, what is the league for?
Yes.
What is the league for?
So send in your comments.
It always gets people very riled up.
Young Lions is a big topic. I think a lot of people commenting on that. So we welcome your continuous ideas and opinions on it. So
comment down, guys. Comment down.
Disband the young lions, keep the young lions, let us know. All right, now, talking of contentious issues, let's move on finally to the weekend preview of English Premier League games. Standout game, going to focus on this week, Aston Villa against the Oligarchs, also known as Newcastle United. What do we think?
I mean, Newcastle
Up to
are now
fourth.
fourth place.
Up to fourth.
Up to fourth, really, and they're doing well. They're playing.
I'll join this.
Joe Linton and Almiron are doing well, and now, but do you find joy in supporting a team like Newcastle? I mean, I know Magpies fans are suffering. I know some Magpie fans, and they are like really down when when you know they couldn't get when they couldn't get a deal through, they were very frustrated. When they finally got a deal through, they were like, oh, finally our team is gonna be doing well again, and they are doing well, but I just don't know.
Yeah, none of this is the Magpies' fault. I always say that. You know, they didn't ask to be taken over by a Saudi Arabian investment fund, which is basically the government of Saudi Arabia. It's the country of Saudi Arabia now owns Newcastle United. Let's not dress it up. It's not the fans' fault. Come back to the point about tribalism. You can still love the Magpies and still feel uncomfortable about the current situation. Yeah. I do, as a so-called neutral. I wrote a column this week in Yahoo. I'm deeply disturbed about the situation. Manchester City will win the league. I'm not saying anything controversial. Arsenal will fall away. No one else will get close. Newcastle conceivably could get closer than Arsenal, I think, in the long term. So you've got one team who's going to win the league, another team who's fourth. We're preparing for a World Cup in Qatar that nobody wants. So the oligarchs now own 2 clubs in the EPL. They've got a World Cup that they have changed the whole of the world's fixture list to accommodate.
Yes.
And we're not supposed to say, do you think they might just have a little bit too much power and influence over our football league, those Gulf states? Do you think this might be a little bit of a concern?
No, we're xenophobics.
Yeah, we're xenophobic. That's what I wrote, right? Well, that's what I wrote. No. We need to have a conversation about this. And Eddie Howe, people say he doesn't deserve to be criticised or to be the poster boy. No, sorry, you do. You took the salary. You knew what was going to happen.
Yep.
You have nothing to do with the politics, but the money is coming from that country. So when they say to you, you claim, or the club claims, there is no Saudi interference whatsoever, and yet all the countries in the world you could go to for your winter training camp,
you went.
You go to Saudi Arabia.
You went to Saudi.
There's no other hot country on this planet.
You can come to Singapore.
Yeah, go to Singapore.
Dortmund are coming to Singapore.
Jalan
Come to
Besar.
Singapore.
We'll put you up at
Why
Jalan Besar.
Saudi?
Come on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the Saudis. So, no, I think Eddie Howe has to accept the fact if he's going to get £200 million from Saudi Arabia, he has to be willing to deal with questions about Saudi Arabia. If he doesn't like it, there are plenty of other clubs he can go to who aren't owned by entire nations.
Could have gone to Aston Villa, but now Emirates is taking over.
What do you think, Joel?
Oh man, I think the Magpies fans are loving this. I think as a neutral, I'm looking at it from a United point of view, I think Newcastle deserve this. It's been a long time coming for them. But
I've always loved Newcastle.
Yeah,
as
I've
a
always
club
loved
and
Newcastle. As a club, as a city,
them.
Their fans. I know a few of them. I'm good friends with some of their fans as well. They have longed for this. They have yearned for this.
Okay, we'll give you one.
They
title,
wanted this.
Sometime in the future, we'll give you one. Title.
So I think, but the thing is, what Newcastle is doing right now, right? They're not making the same mistake as City did.
Yep.
They're not going out to buy the best players out there.
Not yet.
They could literally just throw 100 or 200 million to Mbappe and say,
give it
look,
time.
just play for Newcastle for a couple of years.
Yeah,
Mbappe.
I think I agree. Good luck to the fans, but I do think you might be giving them a little bit too much credit there. I think they're only not doing that now because they can't, because they're not in the top 4. They've got nothing to offer. But if you've got a bottomless pit of money and Champions League football,
yes, then
all bets are off.
Yes, correct.
That's the only difference
waiting
between
for
them.
Mbappe.
Yeah, that's the only difference. So, but hey, you know what we always say. Let us know what you think about Newcastle's owners.
Yep.
Okay, Newcastle Villa. Let's get a quick prediction.
1-1.
Ooh, 1-1. 2-0 Newcastle.
I will say Oligarchs 0, good evening 1. I don't care. I just want Aston Villa to win. All right, wrap it up, Keong, with something nice and positive.
Okay, so you know, World Cup's coming soon. Okay, so I mean,
yeah.
So do you know this person by the name of Yoshimi Yamashita? Anybody know this name?
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar.
Is it that 53-year-old football or something?
Okay, so this World Cup, although it's being held in Qatar, but it's the first World Cup to have female referees.
Fantastic.
Oh,
3 of them, actually.
Wow.
3 of them. One is from France.
Nice.
One is from Rwanda.
Uh-huh.
Last one is from Japan. Asia.
All right.
And it is this Miss Yamashita from Japan.
Brilliant.
Who will become one of the first female referees at the World Cup
Center,
final.
so they will be the center
Yep,
referees.
not assistant referee.
Nice.
Fantastic. That is a genuinely positive, uplifting story to finish on. It really is.
So all full credit. We'll be cheering for. Will we be cheering for her when she comes out in the World Cup?
Well, I will, but as long as she doesn't contradict our man in the VAR box.
yeah.
We've got a Singaporean. We've got
Tucky's
Tucky.
in there. Yeah, Tucky is as a VAR.
So, Tucky, if you're watching, my old friend, do not contradict the nice young female referee,
Yes.
please. Don't make us take sides. But in all seriousness, it's great. Just last night, pure coincidence, my daughter bought the new Panini sticker album, right?
right,
The World
nice.
Cup.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
loves
it's-
it.
it's
My
coming
daughter's
in,
now
yeah.
14. She loves her football. And it did occur to me when Keong told me about the referee that, you know, my daughter loves it, but every single sticker she's putting into her book is a man. Is a man. There's no
Yes,
pathway. There's no
yeah.
role model. There's nothing. Now there's someone she can identify with.
Yeah.
So all jokes aside, I think it's long overdue, but
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful, Joel.
Yes,
Don't
definitely.
bully her, okay? Those players when you go in the match. Don't,
I think they won't bully.
I don't think they will.
I think
I'm
World Cup
joking,
is definitely
I'm
a time to to enjoy, to rejoice. I think it would be a good World Cup, though. I kind of hate the timeline of it.
Oh, I hate it.
I hate the timeline of it. It should have been really at the
it
end of
should
the
have been
season.
I don't really like anything about it apart from the new referee and our man in the VAR
Yes,
box.
that's the only thing I'm excited about right now.
The man in the box. We're all about the man in the box. But what do you think? Female referees at the World Cup, is it a good thing? Newcastle against Aston Villa, who do you think will win and why? Send all of your comments to me on Twitter and this man on Twitter, and also to
Yahoo Southeast Asia at YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on TikTok. No, on Twitter. And Yahoo SEA on TikTok. Screw up.
Thanks,
Finally,
guys.
yeah.
Joel, thanks, mate. That was
Thank you.
brilliant. We'll
That
see you
was
again
brilliant.
very
Thank you.
soon.
Thank you,
Great
guys.
stuff. And we'll see you all again very soon. Good evening.
Good evening.